Welcome to another episode of Parent Talk with Yvette. Today we will be talking on how to parent through challenges. There's always a why behind the behavior. Today will be a little different because normally I have episodes, but this episode will turn into a podcast. And I think you will thoroughly enjoy the information that you will hear. Today on the podcast, we will be talking about parenting through challenges. Parenting is a tough yet rewarding job, and parenting through challenges can make the job even tougher, like the temper tantrums in the supermarket, tears that seem to come out of nowhere, battles over homework that are more like wars, and weekly calls from your child's teacher about outbursts in the classroom. When your child has problems regulating his or her emotions, there's no hiding it. Children with intense emotions go from 0 to 100 in seconds and are prone to frequent emotional and behavioral outbursts that leave parents feeling bewildered and helpless. So joining me on today's podcast is my guest, Angel Dixon. Now let me share a little bit more about my friend. Angel Dixon is an alumni of Liberty University of Lynchburg, Virginia. She earned her bachelor's degree in Special Education Interdisciplinary. She also received an associate's degree in business management at Commonwealth College of Hampton, Virginia. Angel has a heart for children and is an advocate for all children. She believes that every child is a gift from God. Angel has worked as an assistant special education teacher in the public schools and is currently working in the field. Her motto is, "There's always a why behind the behavior." So now I present to you my special guest, Angel Dixon. Hi, Angel, and welcome to Parent Talk with Yvette.
Hello, and thank you, Mrs. Yvette, for having me on your podcast.
It is my pleasure, Angel. I'm excited you agreed to be my guest. Listeners, get your pen and notepad ready because Angel is full of God's wisdom in the area we are about to discuss. Angel, in your opinion, what would you say are the three most challenging areas parents face while raising children?
From my view and my opinion in the education field, while talking to parents, the three most challenging areas parents face raising children are in the cognitive, social and emotional, and physical development areas. The cognitive development area is how a child thinks, learns, explores, and problem solves. This is their primary information processing system, which helps a child obtain the necessary skills needed to live a productive life and function as an independent adult. The social and emotional development is essential because it helps the children to connect with others. This development helps a child to manage and express their emotions and build healthy emotions. Physical development is the growth of a child's motor skills, fine small muscles, and grows large muscles. For an example, if a child is struggling in the cognitive development area, you may see where a child may be taking an extraordinary long time to complete a task, such as homework, or remaining focused. In social and emotional, a child could be struggling, such as sudden outbursts from a child when he or she gets upset. For physical development, it can be as simple as holding an ink pen the proper way. I have experience in the educational field where if there is a delay or a deficit in one of these particular areas, unwanted behaviors within a child can surface. I have heard numerous of times, my child is just bad, or my child just doesn't want to learn. There is always a why behind the behaviors.
Wow, Angel. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that information. Angel, in your opinion, what are the reasons or the why behind behavioral challenges in children?
Prior to the previous statement, when I stated that if there is a delay or deficit in one of those three areas, the cognitive, social, and emotional, and physical areas of a child, you may experience some unwanted behaviors within a child that can surface. I have heard numerous of times my child rephrase it, it's just bad, or my child doesn't want to learn. There's always a why behind the behaviors. Now, we do know that some behaviors are generational that has been passed down from generation to generation that must be broken through much prayer and supplication. But there is always a why behind a behavior. Could it be an underlying condition? I did a teaching training for the facility that I am presently working at, and the training was on dealing with challenging behaviors. I started the training with an icebreaker by giving each teacher a piece of paper and an ink pen followed by a scenario. If you were going to be a part of the survival team and were going to be stranded on an island for several days, what items would you take? But your items are limited. And the limitation was 5 items only. What would they be and why? Each teacher had to write down their specific items and explain the reasoning of taking those items. Each teacher list was different, and then they explained why they decided to choose those specific items. They chose those items to carry with them in this scenario relates to challenging behaviors. There is a why with the behavior. Could it just be that the child is getting frustrated because the information that is given out through a new math concept just needed to be condensed? There is always an underlying reason behind a challenging behavior.
Now, Angel, I have witnessed personally a tool that you use called the Invisible Suitcase that I think is brilliant and I think will help the listeners. Can you explain what the Invisible Suitcase is and how parents and teachers can use it?
Each child that comes through the door of our classroom is carrying what we just can't see, and that is an invisible suitcase. The invisible suitcase is a suitcase that is not seen in the natural, but in the spirit, it is. As a child goes through life, they carry an invisible suitcase. You will never be able to see it, but it's there. It will accompany the child through adolescence and into adulthood. The contents of this suitcase is the child's experiences, relationships, interactions they have accumulated over the years. Some are constructive, some are undesirable, and others are damaging. The invisible suitcase acts as an emotional toolkit for life, like an ever-present inner force, full of messages, learned behaviors, and image of self. Some of the messages accumulated have the potential to propel the child forward in every aspect of well-being and development. Some will limit the child and separate them from their true potential. Some will function as an unwelcome triggers and emotional barriers well into adulthood. That is the Invisible Suitcase Toolkit for life.
Thank you, Angel, for sharing that with the listeners. What does a collaboration team look like for parents? Or is there other effective strategies and tools parents can use?
Some effective strategies and tools that parents can use that I have implemented and that I even suggested. Let's say there's a child that is struggling with their learning process within a classroom. First, we must always identify which learning style that best suits that child. Maybe the child is struggling because that child is a kinesthetic learner. That is a hands-on, where the child needs hands-on. Or maybe the child is an auditory learner. That is where the child learns by listening. Or maybe the child is a visual child, where the child learns by pictures, pictorials. A child's homework can be set up in increments to help the child if a child is struggling. As an example, giving clear instructions for a child to know what their expectations are can also be an effective strategy too. If a child is struggling with remaining focused, an effective strategy tool can be a fidget tool, such as a pocket. This will help a child to remain focused and stay on task, to help them to complete the necessary work that were assigned to them. If you have a child that may be struggling with transition from one activity to a next, or you ask the child, I need you to go clean up your room, but the child is playing, and they're struggling with transitioning, and a tantrum begins to surface, maybe a visual tool can be an effective strategy that can be implemented. A visual tool is a pre-warning. You have such amount of time to complete playing the game, and you must move to the next activity. Those are some of effective strategy tools that can be used in the cognitive area. For a child that's struggling in social and emotional, some effective tools could be modeling the appropriate behavior, reinforcing good behavior, acknowledging the child's feelings. Acknowledgement is very important. You're telling the child, I understand that you are frustrated. You're just not completely ignoring their emotions, because they have emotions as well as adults. But you're saying, I understand that you are frustrated. But, and the but is the appropriate way to handle the situation. Teaching empathy is very important. That will increase a child's social and emotional development area. Maybe they're struggling in the physical development, and you need a strategy tool in reference to that area, such as simple as gripping hold of an ink pen the proper way. Maybe you could just purchase pencil grip tool. That can be stopped. There are so many different strategies, but each child development is totally different.
Angel, thank you so much for those strategies and tools for parents you just shared. What I hear you saying is that parents and teachers can be a team. Parents see things, and teachers also. Maybe a child may be exhibiting things at school that maybe the teacher picks up on or notices right away. Seems like that both need to be aware. Awareness needs to be on alert. Is there a collaboration team? Because I know that parents with children with challenging behaviors need help. So what is a collaboration team, and how can a collaboration team help parents?
If a child is struggling in any of the child development areas, a collaboration team may be required. A collaboration team is a team to help develop the strength of a child's development. This team can consist of the parents, the child's teacher, and a service provider. A service provider can be a pediatrician or a doctor, a speech therapist, a play therapist, an ABA therapist, an occupational therapist, and a physical therapist, as well as a Christian therapist if trauma has been involved. Please never be ashamed. It's important to never be ashamed to reach out for help. If a parent is unsure if a child has a delay or there is a deficit, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has the child development milestones listed on their website. Or if a parent has concerns, it's very important that the parent reach out immediately.
Angel, I am going to have you back on the channel. You have so much information, and I know we've only touched the surface. Wasn't the information Angel shared insightful? So how can someone get in contact with you if they wanted more information?
My email address is angeljohnson1233@gmail.com. That is all lowercase. ANGELJOHNSON123@gmail.com.
Angel, I want to thank you again for spending time with me today. I know everyone watching enjoyed the information you shared like I did and took lots of notes.
Thank you for having me.
So what does this mean for you? Well, although parenting has its challenges, I hope you heard like I did that there is hope, help, and resources out there to help parents navigate the waters. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next episode of Parent Talk with Yvette.